Hey guys, welcome to another video of MLBB Guides. Today we'll be focusing on the hero Xborg. Xborg is a very reliable hero in the current meta because of the buffs to his sustainability as well as his damage output. He can be used in various roles such as the jungler or the side laner. There is also a case for using him as a support or a tank, but I wouldn't recommend that because he doesn't have any strong crowd control skills and he's mainly reliant on his damage and sustainability. I would recommend for you to permaban Xborg unless you have the first pick of the draft because of his sustainability and his damage output. He is quite a difficult hero to kill. Along with his spell vamp, he can constantly regen himself without even going back to base. Here are my builds for Xborg as well as the emblem that I use for him. I would recommend the new weapon War Axe as well as Immortality in order to increase his sustainability in the early game. Because of his emblem, he already has enough spell vamp, so Bloodlust Axe can be considered a second attack item instead. So Xborg is actually very useful to counter some of the heroes in the current meta such as Swain, Saber, Harley or Eudora. This is because of his passive, so once he gets one-shotted, he will detach away after his shield breaks and is able to continue running away or continue to sustain himself using his spell vamp. So for today's gameplay, we'll be playing Xborg as a jungler, but there's a slight difference in both games, so you'll see later in the second gameplay.
Welcome to Mobile Legends! 5 seconds till the enemy reaches the battlefield. Smash them! All troops deployed!
So this is my first gameplay playing Xborg as a jungler, so I was actually quite surprised to see how fast he managed to take the buff. Remember to collect the little lantern so you can continue to regenerate yourself and then still be at full health so you can continue to rotate properly. Some additional tips as the jungler: if you see the lane coming, don't bother trying to clear it. Because of the new mechanics, junglers benefit more from taking jungle monsters. Leave the lane for your mage so that they can get to their level 4 and get their ultimate quickly as possible. So in case you didn't know, Xborg is actually a very good hero against tanky heroes because his passive deals true damage after he manages to burn them to the highest temperature. It's always good for a jungler to make decisions of what he sees on the map, so just now I saw that the Bruno was going up top and he didn't have his red buff, so I assumed that he was going to take his buff. So that gave me a little bit of time before I went to take the turtle, so I decided to take my blue buff first before engaging on the turtle instead. So the good thing about Xborg is that as a jungler, he essentially has two retributions, the retribution spell itself and his ultimate. If he ever comes into a state where he needs to use his ultimate to steal the turtle, he actually can do that. So what a lot of beginners of Xborg don't really know is when to explode the ultimate. You don't always have to wait until you reach the apex of the ultimate in order to explode, but sometimes it's actually better to explode earlier so that you can kill the enemy instead of letting them run away using their skills. So when you go into a fight, always try to put your second skill at places where you think that the enemy will actually run towards, so they can stop their escape route and pull them back from where they are. They've actually buffed this distance if I'm not wrong, so it's even more effective right now to pull them back. So here you can see how effective Xborg's passive true damage is. He actually manages to still get the kill on the alpha simply by using his first skill and flaming it. So sometimes I actually like his first skill in armorless state more, because if heroes are actually running away, it's easier for me to continue to burn them. So here I saw at the top lane that there were actually 3 enemy heroes, and 2 of my teammates were already there, and my mage was also coming to support. At this point of time, I was very confident on my sustain, so I decided to actually go in for the attack. However, it's very unfortunate that we allowed them to get away. I forgot about the Angela coming in to support, and Atlas also managed to get away with just that sliver of health. But I still consider it a success because we forced the enemy to go back to their base to heal, and we managed to steal their buff as well as get 1 kill. So I saw that the Haya was actually trying to backdoor us, so I decided to push the top lane a little bit. You can see that despite our advantage, our tower pushing is not extremely good. That's something as a jungler you should always notice, because your role is always to gain objectives. So if your teammates are not pushing, then you go and push, because you're in the best position, because you're the most fat person in the entire team and can do the most damage to the towers anyway. So I made the decision to take the Lord here because I was confident in my team's goal lead, even though we didn't have our mage around. I saw that the Hayabusa was in the top lane and that the other 3 heroes were in the bottom lane, so I decided to continue taking the Lord. But you can see here how important it is for a jungler to be aware of the Lord's health. So we almost lost the Lord because I retribution at the wrong time. Luckily our Leslie was in the right place at the right time and managed to take it for us. Sometimes as the jungler, if you already have the red buff or the blue buff, then you actually don't really need the buff, especially if you've just taken it. So here I decided to give it up to my Leslie. so that she'll be more effective when she comes to back us up. So for this game, the interesting part is that the Leslie decided to take Retribution even though I was the first pick and had shown my Retribution skill. She was the last pick and had decided to change her spell at the last moment, so we didn't realize until everybody came here. So when I went to the buff, I saw that she was coming to the middle lane and I was a little bit confused. Then I realized that she actually took the Retribution spell, which made things a little bit tricky. So in cases like this, I decided that, hey, instead of trying to take the buff along with her, let's go and steal the enemy's buff. So some of you might say that I can still go to the top lane to farm, but that's not a very good thing to do right now because of the fact that I have Retribution. So if I do go to the lane, my gold and EXP will be extremely reduced. So I should be focused on taking jungle monsters. And here's what I penned to see if the enemy had been taking their red buff and they weren't. So I decided to go ahead and take. And because of how fast Xborg can take the buff, this was actually quite a good strategy. You can see from this portion how effective the Armorless S1 is. It actually allowed me to stay out of the enemy's skill range and still manage to clear the wave as fast as I can. So if you're ever in a position where there are two junglers, don't fret, just continue to play the game. Don't scold the other teammate and don't be toxic. If the other teammate takes objectives, then great. If not, you go and take the objectives yourself. So continue to pan the map and see when's a good time for you to gank and when's a good time for you to join in team fights. So always remember, don't stand together when you're fighting against the Tiger because of their flicker trick. In this case, our Veil had a Purify, so he managed to escape, but our Leslie and myself did not. So the thing about playing with Elduses in your team is that sometimes you're forced to engage when your Eldus uses an ulti. Sometimes you don't have to, but in this case I saw that my entire team was moving towards where the Eldus was ulting, which was the Harley. And lucky he managed to get the kill, if not it would have been a wasted fight instead. So a constant thing that's been happening throughout the game that I've noticed is that whenever the Tigreal and the lower E is pressuring someone, the Harley will appear from a strange angle and then out the person in order to get the kill. So I anticipated where the Harley actually came out from using his second skill and then moved towards him in order to try to get the kill. So here is a case where I made the wrong decision to explode early. I should have continued to let my ultimate go on so that the Harley would have actually left when the turtle was at the lowest health, so he couldn't retribution it. Right, yeah, I should have listened and retreated because I was so low in health. I didn't expect that the Guinevere would come, and in this case I can never outrun a Guinevere. So at first I wanted to bait the enemy, but then after I started engaging the Lord, I saw that actually all 5 enemy heroes were available on the map and they were all being disturbed by someone. So I decided that actually it's enough time for me to take the Lord. So I continued to try to take the Lord alone, knowing that the Harley was at the bot lane and I had a retribution on hand. So it's still all about decision making even if there are 2 junglers in the team. If the other jungler is not doing the objectives, then you go and do it instead.
Our turret has been destroyed.
Right here you can see how important and how powerful Xborg Sustain is. I'm not even afraid of a Guinevere because of the fact that I have my shield that I can run away from. Once again, if you didn't know, Xbox Ultimate can also be used as an escape tool. So in this case, I ultimate away, and then once my shield broke, I pointed my joystick in a direction so that I can run away from the enemies. As an Xborg, you don't even have to be afraid of Harley's ultimate as long as you have a shield.
Our inhibitor turret is under attack. Shut down. Ally has been slain.
Here you'll see the beauty of having Xborg. I had the option of exploding or using my retribution to steal the Lord. Even though I sacrificed myself, it was still good because we didn't need to fight an enhanced Lord with only 3 people alive. Xbox ulti is all about timing and positioning, so this was actually a really bad time to use the ultimate because no one was nearby. Hope you enjoyed the gameplay today. Leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.